a Taekwondo stylist named Jeremy Bullock, who came to the cage in pajamas with a black belt around his waist, doing jumping spin kicks, looking really intense. Before we talk about what happened in the fight, Travis, what was that guy's deal?
Well, I mean, and the story behind it, if you can believe it, is way funnier than the fight itself.
Oh, I'm ready.
Just leading up to it, and then what even happened afterwards. Because I fought. I mean, these are the old days. I fought in a tournament in Brazil 3 days before that. And I won a tournament in Brazil, the World Dojo Championships, which back then was a big tournament. Now nobody even knows what it is. But I got into Salt Lake City that day. Flew straight back from Brazil. Flew into Salt Lake City that day, and I got there at like 5 o'clock. And back in those days, weigh-ins weren't even a big deal. I mean, half the time I never even had to weigh in. I was fighting in a 200-pound and under tournament. And when I got off the plane, I saw a guy from Full Contact Fighter magazine. I don't think they're even in existence anymore, but he was like, "Hey, let's go get something to eat." And I'm like, "Yeah, I had to go shoot my video shoot that you saw in there." And if you watch the video shoot before I fight Jeremy Bullock, I said I'm fighting in the tournament because I was. And I went and ate, and then we get to the venue. It was probably like 7 o'clock at night, and one of the guys in the tournament started complaining to Monty Cox that he wanted to see me make weight. And I mean, I didn't know. I figured I'd be right about 200 pounds. I jumped on the scale. I was like 202. And Monty was like, "Oh, you got to cut something." So somebody had some plastics, and I went and ran around, and I cut like half a pound. And this guy was bitching, and he wasn't even my first-round opponent. But he got my first-round opponent pretty riled up, too. And so I was like, fine, I won't even fight. I don't give a shit. My knee was hurt anyways. And so they took Jeremy Bullock's opponent and put him in that tournament. And the guy who had made the big deal was like, "Hey, man, I hope there's no hard feelings. I got to admit, I knew you were the man to beat in this tournament, so this was my way to get you out of the tournament, give me a chance to win it." And he went on and got beaten in like 30 seconds, so congratulations, dickhead. But we saw this guy, and I guess he was an instructor at a local Taekwondo gym, and he had contacted Monty and said he wanted to fight, and they went up to him before the fight, and when they switched to the opponent, because he weighed 170 pounds and his opponent was like 185, and they told him, like, "Hey, you're going to fight this guy." I remember walking back in the room, this idiot's doing like the splits on the chair like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Really?
There's no question in his flexibility, that's for sure.
At the very least, right?
He didn't fold in half very well. That wasn't very nice. I shouldn't have said that.
Well,
but,
let me.
He said he'd beat me, and actually, if you watch the video, Monty's like, "Don't beat this guy up." He's like, he's an idiot. He thinks Taekwondo is awesome. And I did it. If you watch, I didn't even punch that guy. I just, honestly, what was going through my head, I mean, there were like 15,000 people there. It was a big show, and I was like, I'll just pick this guy up, I'll slam him, and I'll put him in an arm bar or something. And when I picked him up, he held on to my head. And, yeah, then he screamed like a girl.
Well, he came out, he threw this flying knee attack kind of thing. He just kind of breezed over your head, and then you ended up on the floor, you took him down, and he grabbed your head in a headlock, just a straight headlock, like a schoolyard headlock, while you were in side control, and then you picked him up off the mat and slammed him, almost like a Uranagi slam, but you folded him in half. Apparently he broke a vertebrae in the fall in his back, and the look on his face, Travis, was honestly like someone had jolted him with a defibrillator or something. I mean, he just didn't know what had happened.
It probably hurt, but if it's any consolation in the whole fact, I ended up fighting in Salt Lake City again about 7 months later, and I fought Heath Herring. And I'd moved up to heavyweight. I gained about 25 pounds, and I ended up beating Heath Herring. And while I was walking back to the locker room, this guy comes walking up to me. He's got a 5-gallon hat on, his cowboy boots, and a belt buckle that was bigger than he was. And he's like, "Yeah, I want to, you remember me?" And I was like, he was like, "Yep, I'm healed up. I really want a rematch." And I'm like, "All right."
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I swear to God. And then he goes, "But Frank Shamrock. And at this time, Frank Shamrock was the top guy in the world. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm kicking his ass first. I want you next. I'm like, all right, buddy.